Well, the tournament's over. We can go around all of the different towns to see what has changed. We won't find a whole lot, but Salva in particular is kind of interesting. A lot of the NPCs talk about a frat party happening here, renting out the entire bar. I don't think I've ever found Joe. Like the specific NPC. He's just like, okay, we just got this person who's setting this whole thing up. Closing to the public in 30 minutes. You would assume that this leads to some sort of private action, but it honestly doesn't. It's just left hanging there. Just like, okay, how'd the frat party go? Oh, we might never know. Also, this geezer in the back of the sign. I'm gonna leave him to it. The actual reason why we're in Salva is because of not this person whose dialogue doesn't change. It's this guy, Raddle. If you're someone who knows Star Ocean, this is not your first time meeting him. He was in the first game too. Same exact thing happens with him as well, where we just have to point him in the right direction of a certain town, in this case, Hurley. There is no benefit of shooting him off into a completely opposite direction, so we might as well just help him out. The thing with him is he doesn't get the directions completely correct. You have to go find him again. So if you tell him, hey, head east, well, he'll stop at Mars. You can redirect him to Arlia if you really want to, but why would you do that apart from having to redirect him again? So keep telling him to head east. And if you think it's done then, definitely not. Even if you looked all over Hurley, you wouldn't find him. So head to Hilton. There he is. Honestly, I wouldn't have been able to see him if the question mark bubble was not there. I want to give the developers the benefit of the doubt and go, they noticed that too. His colors blend in too well. Anyway, you could send him to Linga if you really want to. But the last thing you need to do is say, hey, go the other direction. Like you were there, dude. Alright, maybe he took the hint. Maybe he took the directions properly. It does mean that we have to sail all the way back. And he's kind of in the last place you would expect in Hurley. He's in one of the hotel rooms. This one in particular. Yeah, there you are. You dingus. So, what do you get for dealing with this guy? You get what's called the Funny Slayer. Now, the Funny Slayer seems like a joke, and it kind of useless the first time you look at it. I'm not gonna sort out all of my junk here. The Funny Slayer, a joke of a weapon that slays the monsters called Funny with one blow. This is one attack power, 40 critical, and I love the 3D model. It is just absolutely nothing. It's really useless because it's not meant for really at any point in the game. Eventually, it will become a very valuable item, but you might not even see the point of the game in which it's actually needed. To the point where it's like, in my earliest playthroughs, I would sell the thing because it's useless, only to be hit in the head right afterwards. Anyway, remember this private action? This very particular man with the 3 eyes back in Cross? Now that the tournament's over, we can actually do something about it. Unless you have Ashton in your party. If you got Ashton, you cannot do this. So, Claude's perspective, we're able to see what's going on here. The scene almost works until they have to do the snooze bubble. Like, yeah, I can't make him fall down to the ground or anything. Well, this woman seems to handle her drink pretty well. I love that we can just answer the question. To the point where she doesn't even listen. It's like, oh, I actually, like, yes, I was not expecting one. To be honest, you're looking for a very specific thing. Person. Love the term just a while ago in this context. Learn a little bit about more about what a while is. At least we get her name. I keep flip-flopping in terms of the pronunciation. Some people call her Opera, some people call her Oprah. I flip-flop personally. Everybody else in the bar is pretty much just going like, wow, what a woman. And this person might go and follow her. If you're going and doing this without seeing the scene here, all of the soldiers are talking about how cool Diaz was in the tournament. Hey, did you see a very sexy woman come this way? And the answer is yes, I did. No mistaking her. Now, I would say this is audience number 3, but the second audience happened on Renna's perspective, not Claude's. So, really, in this playthrough, we've only seen the king twice. God, this woman again. Of all the information here, we really don't have to ask any of these questions other than about the three-eyed woman. You can get more information about how the refugees from Click are just kind of dispersed around the other towns, but not much else. It makes it sound like the king is not the master of Cross Castle. If it's that easy, you should be able to just give permission to anybody who asks about it. There's a monster. You might die in there. The wording is different, but he's still going like, hey, I can give you permission, but you might die in there. But here's the key difference. Not only do we get permission, but because we're doing it a lot later than when you would get to go to the Mountain Palace for Ashton, you get a whole lot more money. You get 10,000 full for this one. Now here's the thing about this. So Ernest, the man with the 3 eyes, went to get permission to go to the Mountain Palace. And he said a few days ago. So in the time period between seeing that private action when we first got to Cross to the tournament and after the tournament happening, it's been like less than a week. I find that kind of odd. A little bit, especially when we got to Liqueur and the whole insinuation of like timescale is that it's like, oh, the tournament's happening in a couple days. So between being at Cross, going to Click, and then making our way to Liqueur, like maybe a day, 2 tops had actually passed. It's a very tight timeline they're really giving at this point. Anyway, the Mountain Palace. There really isn't much more to say that I haven't already said before, with Ashton being here.
This is bad. Here's the enemy.
Be careful.
The thing with this is, like, the enemies are the same. You might have a problem with fighting them depending on how your levels are. With all of this, like, you really have to focus on whether or not you have Pressus in your party. It's a good idea to have her just for some extra backup. The thing is, Pressus might still be under-leveled, so it's very quick for her to die.
I'm so happy.
However, very quickly, we do run into Opera. And it's good that we're learning, like, oh boy, we learned so much about her. Like, 1, she's carrying a massive gun with her. 2, she kind of just says things before she really thinks about it. 3, she's really good with her alcohol. And 4, we don't have to jump through hoops in terms of explaining her situation. Claude just goes, hey, you're not supposed to be here. Neither am I, but... This does lead to, hey, we have 3 people who have no idea what's going on. So it's almost like we have a bit of a dynamic developing with this optional scene. The other thing about Opera is that she is headstrong. Seemingly, wherever Ernest goes, she will follow. Of times she's used the term interior, like they aren't able to word it a little bit less wooden than that. There is no reason to not say no. Like, you're putting all this effort at this point in the game in order to recruit this woman into your party. Like, it's kind of shocking to say no. Seeing as Opera and Ernest are 2 of the hardest characters to recruit. That might just be the top 2. There's only 1 other character, but I don't consider that character to be as difficult as those 2 are. So now we get Opera. Which means, hey, we have a 5th member in our party, but in battle we can only have 4. So we gotta make some decisions. So, Opera, a tetragene, known for their 3rd eye on their forehead. Now the thing is, with her actual portrait, I was wondering on her sprite where the stuff on her head is. It's attached to her arm, and that's kind of where it is for most of the bits there. And I just want to point out the blue sphere design because, again, her design is excellent. Swapping out a black dress for a red dress. It's really, really good. Like, Opera's design is just fantastic. battle ready, but still elegant. And even on the sprite alone, there's so much detail, including the high heels that she's constantly wearing. Now, in terms of battle, I'm gonna swap out Celine for her, so we're a little bit more physical there, because 1, Opera needs the levels, so does Pressus, and 2, we get to fiddle around with her a lot more there. She does come with a skill. She comes with Customize, albeit only 1 level in each of the 3 necessary to make the skill, so we're gonna need some skill points. Do a little bit of grinding. Now, she carries that big gun, the Kaleidoscope. It's her signature weapon, so the thing that swaps her out and makes her more powerful is what we're able to install into the gun. She starts with the booster box, which is just a bog standard thing. I love that they're floppy disks too. Just a sign of the times. Could put the Funny Slayer on her to be a joke, but no, absolutely not. And she comes with a reverse doll, which is nice. Let's hopefully we don't use it. And just for the sake of design, let's swap the high heels out for some pin heels. Why not? A little bit more power for her. Because if you didn't check the stats while I was going over design, she's kind of like Pressus in more ways than one. Especially when it comes to her weapon being technology-based like Pressus, so get used to not having a whole lot of options for her. Her 2 starting skills, Photon Prison and Flame Launcher, she loves using Flame Launcher. She will never use Photon Prison unless you do it yourself.
Heads up.
Things will work out, I think.
So, playing as Pressus, we're just gonna observe Opera. Again, she loves Flame Launcher, pretty much firing a fire grenade. And that's
Looks
kind of
like
her
we're
shtick.
on it.
She is a long-range physical fighter. On her stats, she has 0 magic, 0 intelligence. So when we were going around this part of the Mountain Palace, there really wasn't anything to see or get apart from treasure chests, but because this is Opera's section of the Mountain Palace, now there's things to do. And Ernest is apparently packing as well. Indeed. Opera is exactly what Claude needs in order to actually get a little bit more character out of him. Because, again, he's trying to keep it low. So having this exchange between 2 spacefaring characters, like, now we got a little bit of life in here. It's time for a boss fight.
Bad. Here's the enemy.
I'm coming.
Yeah!
This boss fight can be a little bit of a difficult thing. The flare lizards can be very lethal because if you're in front of them, they love using their breath attack, which pretty much just constantly hits you if you are in their range. And if you're pinned against a wall, you might as well be dead. You're pretty much dead, almost guaranteed. So the whole thing with this one is keep your distance. Now, Pressus doesn't like keeping her distance. Opera loves keeping her distance. Claude has Head Splitter, so he'll just constantly use that and be vertical. The one we have to worry about is Rena, so that she can constantly be on healing duty to make sure that everybody else is still alive. And do you love the dulcet tones of Rocket Punch? I sure do. But I want to make sure that, got poisoned. So, yeah. I'm surprised I don't have any Aqua Berries. Oh, great, Claude. Come on. Yeah, if they swap between their physical attack and their breath attack, then you're really screwed. Take a look at Opera's sprite. She's a little bit messed up. Alright. Resurrection it is. Yeah, okay. Throughout this entire time, I haven't really invested in any resurrection items, and I really need to. Oh, shoot, that's the problem with the breath attack. Oh, did Rena get up? there because, yeah, okay. I had a reverse stall on her. That's a good thing. I just have to make sure that she lives. Because she could easily quickly die right afterwards. Oh, wow. Already done.
Is that it?
Unexpectedly weak.
Now they have a lot more HP, especially on Galaxy difficulty. That could have gone worse. Get some reflection rings out of the deal.
Okay!
Yeah, the lizard types are just powerhouses. Especially when they have status effects on top of that. Luckily it was just poison this time. What an anime thing to say. Don't show mercy, they'll come back stronger than ever. Alright, we can just leave the bodies there. And then we can head back to the weird corridor with the books. In that strange room. Still love that skeleton in the capsule. Now take some notes. Take some notes of all of the questions that they're asking here. A hidden experimental facility. It was built for a purpose. Seems out of place. Well, we're up to 4 questions now. You're not gonna answer, you're not gonna even try to answer any of those questions? Just gonna dangle them over here. Nothing to investigate here? No? No, they absolutely don't. They just move on. They throw those questions out into the ether and go, well, he's not here. Guess we should go. It's like, wow, okay. Well, sorry, laboratory. You're just not important enough in order to spend any more time and invest in it. Sorry, skeleton. It's a shame. Especially then, since this is assumed, like, we assume this is the place where Ernest, like, spent the last 3 days. Doing what? We're not going to get an answer. So at this point, yeah, Opera's just going to be around with us. However, the tricky thing with Opera is that there's something else we kind of need to do, but the game's not going to tell us. It expects you to find it on your own. And you kind of have to find it because it's needed to get Ernest. So you're going to get to the point where it's like all of a sudden you have the option of getting Ernest and it just won't give you the option. And you're going like, what did I miss? Well, you missed a private action in Arlia with Opera. She's up on the balcony of the mayor's house of all places as they're getting ready with the refugees here. And this private action is necessary for getting Ernest. And technically keeping Opera in the party. She can leave of her own accord. I made an emergency landing in the woods south of here. That's all she says. Like, it's barely even a private action. It is just, that is your piece of information to go back to the Shingo Forest. Because there's a scene there for the party. They make it so obtuse. No wonder people follow a guide. Also, in the forest, maybe we can fight people.
There's Mr. Enemy! Beware!
Oh, look at all of the wonderful thieves that are still here that we can just punch and they don't do any damage to us.
Leave it to me!
Yeah. What a wonderful thing. So heading back all the way to where Claude first woke up. We can go further into the forest. Unfortunately, the game doesn't really throw out the possibility that Claude had a way out from Expel because Opera was around. Really wasn't enough time in order to do anything like that. And then the intricacies of replaying this game also bring in this. If you have Pressus in your party, and this additional part of the scene happens. Pressus being good with tech, or at least curious about it, finds something for Opera. The Seventh Ray. The Seventh Ray is a new weapon that you can get early for Opera. And if I was playing in a different configuration, specifically having Pressus and Opera in Rena's perspective, I would also unlock a new private action between Opera and Pressus somewhere else in the world. Like, again, there's so much that happens here. Also, the description of the Seventh Ray cutting the enemy's heraldic attack power in half. I'm guessing that means defense and not actually when you hit them, like their stat lowers, because the game is not that complicated. So I'm assuming it is actually defensive capabilities. I'm going to keep going into this private action here. We're going to be ending off with some private actions, but the fact that we have Preston and Rena talking about how serial killer-like each other are being, it's kind of a woo thing. Man, how do you want to take this situation? All right, Claude, what do you want to confess? Going for Pressus, going for Rena, or leaving it open? And which would be your worst poison out of the three? I never know how to feel when something like that is actually asked, and you're literally going like, I know by the first line that I heard. This is also a weird private action because it really shows the issue between Claude being his own character and you being able to manipulate his responses. Because, yeah, it doesn't feel like that option really is something that Claude would say. And Rena knows this. Just like, this is really out of character for you. Although I will say, pay attention to how the dialogue continues, because, again, with the translation, they really don't spice it up or change any of the wording. I just love that Rena leaves. It's like, you're on your own, buddy. So, let's see each other, okay? Just gonna count it. go. There it is the second time. You know, let's just see each other. And there it is a third time. Ooh boy. Gonna go for 4? There's the 4th. All right. We can start seeing each other. We can start seeing each other. We can start seeing each other. It's great. We can't see each other if you're seeing someone else. The real kicker with this option is, hey, let's go and see how Rena's doing. Oh, she's doing great. Did you take the responsibility? Yes. Sort of. I don't know about this one. With all of the other things we've done and said to Rena, I don't know how well our relationship is at this point. Like, you remember the private action all the way back in Cross at the church? That was a mess. Off the market. There is a difference between doing something out of courtesy and doing something out of genuine honesty. Well, at least Rena kinda saved herself. Now I'm her wingman. So really, this is one of the private actions, like, some of them have no good answer. This is one where it's like, it's really open as to what the best option could honestly be. I'm saying it's one of the better ones, though. Fortunately, you two have nothing to chatter about. Sure. But this is a private action where the characters are allowed to, like, personally shine on their own. Because what you think might be disappointing to, like, one of them or both of them, you might be wrong about it. Especially when Presses is mostly a rather chipper kind of personality. Geez, I thought we had enough of rivalries last time. But you know, that's like bro rivalries. Now we need a bromance rivalry. And nothing was changed. Anyway, let's get some documents translated. How about that, finally, huh? See you next time, everyone.